Chair and President, and then on to our CEO and Vice Chair, Brad Wilson. So Fraser, take it away.
Thank you, Tom. Today was a special day. We kicked off our organizing committee for 2034. I must say I felt some emotion with that after 22 years of work that we're off and running, and then we have Brad with us. It was just a phenomenal day and two great meetings. I'd just like to recap a few highlights that sunk into me that were very inspirational. And I did start out with this feeling that having been awarded the 2034 Games is a gift for us to serve the world. It really is. And I look forward to participating in that as we go forward. A couple of things that really stood out. Number one, Mayors Mendenhall and Worrell were very passionate about participating, the differences across communities, but the opportunity to work together and the importance of youth and how youth will play such a key role in what we do. Second, having 2002 Olympic champion Sarah Hughes as part of our board, and how she felt the special welcome from Utah is something that she expressed from her heart. It was amazing. And we had bobsledder Chris Kinney, who spoke about the vital training he's done at Utah Olympic Park and how he's fallen in love with Utah, even though he's from the South. Then we have Manny Guerra, who was a 2002 Paralympic sled hockey participant or team member, and he talks about going from worst to first and being Paralympic champion and how 2002 played such a meaningful role in his life. Jack Hollis, who just retired after 30 years with Toyota, and how important it was for him to see the Paralympic movement step up. And then we had Kathleen Holding from the Holding family speaking to the inspiration of the athletes that led her father to build the remarkable downhill run at Snow Basin that really kind of got everything started. And then we had Steve Price, a native Utah and business leader, on what he learned from the Sports Commission's Moscow Youth Games or Moscow Games way back, I think in 01 or 03. And how important that was, and the notion of the Olympic and Paralympic world really spreads out to broad participation to events. And finally, Matthew Prince citing the Olympics as one of the trusted entities in the world and its mission for what it does. So all of those comments, some came in the steering committee, some came in the board meeting. They're all very inspirational to us about this work that we're engaged in. Brad.
Thanks, Fraser. It was really great to get everyone together and get this group off and running. And as I said in the steering committee, and I'll just reiterate now, we live in a chaotic, stormy, difficult world at times, and the Olympics continues to be this remarkable oasis that brings people together and helps them celebrate our shared humanity. And that's what Utah is all about as we start to prepare for 2034 and the games that we're going to have. And we are excited to engage our communities in our listening tour over the next few months, and that will really never end. We'll reinvent that every year to make sure that every corner of the state's involved. And whether it's, like I said, Mayor Mike from Garden City or some people from our capital city and everyone in between, we want everyone to feel like they're invited to be a part of the Olympic and Paralympic Games. So we will be focusing as an organization on the next 3 years. It's the foundational phase of what we'll be doing to prepare for the Games in 34. And our team's going to be focused on that. We will have plans to execute, to engage our youth, and to really start to make sure we're ready to host the world. And as we do that, let me just pivot a little bit. We will ensure that our board and our steering committee are engaging in the kinds of things that you have with good governance. We will have an ethics process and committee that will stand up inside our board. We will have an audit committee that will stand up inside our board to make sure we have financial controls in place to manage the finances of this amazing organization. And we will make sure that we did make sure today that we have all the approvals in place with policies and procedures to onboard employees and to start the work that needs to be done. So we are off to the races as of today's set of meetings. And I just want to say one other thing. My job as CEO is very different than what a CEO's job might be in another host venue. And there's a reason for that. There are things that I don't have to do as a CEO that other CEOs would have to ramp up. And it's a long list of things that were accomplished during the bid process that Fraser and his team did that were just remarkable. And I want to just ask him to highlight those one more time.
Thank you, Brad. One of the things that we wanted to do during the bid phase was do as much of the early work of the organizing committee we could do to allow the organizing committee to aspire to loftier expectations. And the other thing we wanted to do is we did these things to de-risk the games, because a lot of these things have economics associated with them. And to the extent we could get them locked in, we knew what our numbers were instead of speculating what our numbers would be. So several of the things that we accomplished during the bid phase, first of all, remember that our bid budget was $4 million and the average is probably 40 to 60. So we did it for a fraction of the cost because we had one full-time employee and a whole host of volunteers that we appreciate. And we were awarded the games 3 years early, which is a big testament to the value of Utah as a host and the relationships that we've built over the past 25 years. The combination of those led to our award early. Some of the key elements of OCOG work that we completed, number one, and maybe most important, is that we have all of the venue use agreements done. I will note that there's still some work being done at other places, other bids that are other games ahead of ours, but we have 100% completed those, and we're thrilled with our venue partners. Second of all, we have 21,000 hotel rooms under contract already, and we have a few more to go, but we're thrilled about that. And we have a games budget that is very thorough. Most bids, it's hard to figure out how all the economics are going to work, and so it's a little bit more speculation. Fortunately for us, given our experience in '02 and given the experienced people around the table, we put together a very, very robust budget in which we feel a high level of confidence. So with all those pieces in place, it frees up the organizing committee to work on things like engaging our communities and youth that Brad has talked about. So that's a little bit of a summary of things that we covered at the steering committee and at the board meeting. So we'll now turn it back to you, Tom, for questions.
Thank you very much, Fraser and Brad. We will now go to questions from the media. You're welcome to put your question in a chat or raise your hand and we'll call on you. So the floor is yours. Rich Perlman.
Thank you, Tom. Hi, guys. Hi, Fraser. Nice to see you again. Mr. Wilson, haven't met you before, but I'm sure we will at some time. My question is about your first year. Have you established what the organizing committee budget is going to be for the first year of operation?
We typically don't report that because this is a project budget. And so you look at that, and some things we might spend a little bit earlier or later. So we just refer you to the overall bid budget we put together, or games budget we put together.
Thanks. Any other questions?
Yes. Hi.
Lisa.
Thanks, Tom. I'm wondering what actions the organizing committee took, since unlike other entities in the state that meet openly and then close for specific reasons, your meetings are closed. So can you give us a rundown of all the actions that were taken today? Thank you.
let me turn it to Brad to answer Rich's question in a roundabout way, and then Lisa will get to your question.
Yeah, Rich, I look forward to meeting you. And just to kind of give a little color to part of your question, one of the things that we did today was we approved the ability to hire and start hiring and building our team. And we're going to have maybe 5 or 6 employees this year at the most. We'll start out with 2 in the month of March and grow from there. The reason I point that out is that I think it just illustrates we're going to be a lean, mean fighting machine and be very frugal in terms of the way we ramp up towards the games.
Yeah, and then to answer Lisa's question, and Brad, please chime in. Basically, we did all the authorizations to get up and running. And there are a list of those, like delegation of authority, procurement policies, kind of the nuts and bolts to be up and running. And all those are now in place.
Just authorization to hire people and get up and running.
And who are those first 2 employees? Is it Kat and Darren?
That's correct. Yep, Catherine Rainey Norman is going to be the chair of our athletes commission, and she'll be leading our development program. And this probably goes without saying, but our funding and the revenue that we will use over the next 5 years or so will come exclusively from donors. And then Darren Hughes is the brains behind the operation here, and he's the other employee we'll be bringing on board in March.
Thank you, Lisa. Other questions? Julie.
Yeah, I had one. Thanks. Good to see you guys again. Thanks for the help yesterday, and appreciate seeing you again today and having us be invited. One question, this is, I guess, for you, Brad. You've talked about doing this listening tour and kind of wanting to make sure that all 29 counties in Utah are included. But looking at the list of the steering committee and of the executive, the executive group, no one is from farther south than Spanish Fork. So I'm kind of wondering, have you taken that into consideration, and kind of what thought was given into maybe adding somebody from the southern part of the state to bring in perspectives?
Yeah, a couple of comments. Thanks, Julie. We do have Mindy Benson, who's the president of Southern Utah University, on our board. And so she'll be helping lead the organization and governing the organization that way. And we will be standing up subcommittees inside our steering committee to help us execute all from corners all across the state. So the steering committee will continue to evolve, but the subcommittees inside that organization will as well. And once we have created that 3-year plan that I talked about, and we have our strategy for youth engagement and community engagement mapped out, you'll see us bringing people on in those organizations and in those committees to help us out.
Great. And have you heard anything from, you said you were hearing from up in Weber County, up in Garden City. Have you heard from any people in about all of this, I guess?
Oh yeah. Friends from St. George to everywhere in between. And, I've been overwhelmed personally with the people that have reached out, and I mean overwhelmed in a good way, that want to be involved, that want to volunteer. And I think our challenge, quite frankly, Julie, is going to be to keep track, because we don't have a lot of work to do right now, but everyone wants to help. And so we don't want to hurt anyone's feelings when we say, yeah, we want your help. We just don't want it yet. And we're going to want it down the road.
Great. Thank you.
Any other final questions? None heard. We want to thank everyone for your participation today. Fraser and Brad, thank you very much. And it's going to be a good journey up to 2034. Thanks for coming along with us today.
Bye-bye.